thing that ever happened in my agency was this guy came in for a quote, we thought, had overalls on, looked wet, didn't have shoes on, had wet socks on, and just kind of, and was just talking to us and said he needed help. And I said, where you been? He said, I've been in the field praying. Like, oh, okay. And so we just sat there and texted each other, like, what do we do? And she said, my office manager at the time said, don't give him a ride. And luckily he just eventually left. So
oh man, did you see where he went?
No, we kind of watched, but I think he went next door or something. That's probably one of the wildest things. And I'm Toby Hedges from Tupelo, Mississippi, and I'm an insurance dude.
Insurance dudes are on a mission to escape being handcuffed by our agencies.
How? By uncovering the secrets to creating a predictable, consistent, and profitable agency sales machine.
I am Craig Pretzinger.
I am Jason Feldman.
We are agents.
We are insurance dudes.
Right now, while it's fresh in your mind, check out live.teledudes.com.
We took our notes from over 100 interviews with top agents from around the country and made it into a live webcast.
Using these strategies led Craig and I to selling more than $10 million in premium in the last 2 years.
On this call, you'll receive the exact blueprint to get the same results.
Just go to live.teledudes.com to register for this upcoming Tuesday's live call with us.
If you jump on this call with us, we're certain 2022 will be an absolutely fantastic year for you.
See you there.
Boom!
Boom! Yeah!
I have a follow-up
How wet
question
was
for
it?
that.
It was like from the mid-calf down.
And what was your methodology of testing wetness?
The color difference going from light khaki to dark khaki.
Oh, okay. So the khakis were wet.
Khaki, yeah. And it was like, okay. And I said, what were you doing? He said, I've been out in the field. Okay, what were you doing out in the field? He said, I was praying. So
that's it. No follow-up.
That was it. Yeah. And so we just kind of sat there, and from what I remember, he just left.
You should have said, if you were praying for water, it looks like you got it, buddy.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like something you do here in Arizona. Pray for water. You could walk around this town all day long and not get wet.
Yeah. Oh, I bet.
Oh, Toby, wow. I love you have a cigar in there lit up?
I do. Yeah.
Love it. You're our first cigar smoking insurance dude on the podcast.
On the podcast. Yeah. Yeah. I was just, Jennifer goes, you did on the Teledudes? Well, yeah, it was about after lunch, and cigar's pretty good after lunch. And I just started smoking a cigar.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Yep.
Have you had any whiskeys today?
Today I have not.
Not yet.
No.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet.
That's later.
Young.
Yeah. They go real good with the cigar along with the Bloody Marys. So it just depends. Depends on how many hang-ups I can take when I need a drink.
I like that the whiskey goes good with the cigar and the Bloody Mary.
Yeah.
Right. So have you ever had a Bloody Mary with, gosh, I'm a little unschooled at the moment, but the smoky whiskey, like mezcal? That's not whiskey, but
that's a Bloody Maria.
Yeah, I haven't. But now they're doing all these whiskeys where you can like turn the glass upside down and smoke it, and all this fancy stuff. And I just get a cigar and smoke it, blow it, drink.
It's like you have something that's great. Why, as men, I think, or dudes, when we have something great, we have to tinker with it?
Yes.
And wreck it.
Yeah. I don't know if y'all drink, but you go into the liquor stores now, there's just gobs of choices of whiskeys and tequilas, and the choices are mind-numbing. We complicated it. I mean, I went to the ATM machine the other day. Okay, just going to take out some cash. There was 5-6 steps. I said, where was the time when I've just put my card in, put my code, got cash?
Right.
Now I have to choose language, what account, what kind of cash, quick cash, fast cash, $10, you know.
Upsell, downsell.
That's right. Do you want to open an account? Do you want to buy a policy? Right. Yeah. So anyways, it's just, you're right. We tinker with it. It seems like
You want to donate $3 of it.
Yeah. Right.
It's
You
crazy.
sound remarkably like Matthew McConaughey. Has anyone ever told you that?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. All right.
All right.
Yeah, there we go. That was going to be the test.
I taught an insurance class, for them to take. You have to sit so many hours in Mississippi, and we'd go over the test. And one girl said that. She goes, "You're kind of talk like Matthew McConaughey." And she said to say that. All right.
Yeah.
So I had to do it in that class. So that was I wish we could get an audience like that selling insurance, because they paying attention and learn stuff.
Doesn't he say in Remember Dazed and Confused? Isn't that where all right came from?
I think so,
it was. Yeah. I think it's right.
I don't even think, you know what? I'm not going to quote the line because I don't want to be quoted saying the line. So never mind. Let's just move on.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, that's good quality podcast.
So, Toby, what's a whiskey toting, cigar smoking dude like you? How did you get into this crazy business of insurance?
Well, I started originally from Arkansas and did an intern at UCA. Well, for Northwestern Mutual at University of Central Arkansas, where Scottie Pippen played ball.
Oh.
And was
The
always
real champion.
Yeah. So I always liked people talking, carrying on, having a good time. I knew that some people that I knew were in the insurance business and were successful. And so I interviewed there, and they didn't want me at the time. They were looking for somebody else. I didn't have the experience. I was 22. And so I interviewed with a company I'm with now, and they didn't want me over there in Arkansas. And so I ended up getting a friend of the family, and ended up supposed to be in Oxford, Mississippi, ended up in Tupelo, Mississippi. So started a scratch agency in Mississippi, didn't know anybody in the state or the town, and started doing it. Saw some success, liked most of it, and then liked the freedom and the challenges. And that's just kind of how I all got started. And I just knew that I didn't know if I could live in the corporate environment of all the stuff that happens, the bureaucracy or whatever that stuff is that you call it, I like to be in not the choir or the preacher, but in the congregation. I can do and say what I want to,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So that's how I kind of got into it. Yeah.
Well, I guess the majority can live in that world, right?
Right.
But I mean, you, me, Jason, and everybody listening are not cut from that mold.
No, I just, you would have meetings probably like this. There was a issue at one company where they weren't getting people to turn in their time cards, to get paid. What are we going to do about them not turning their time cards? Well, I think my dad was at the meeting. He said, "Don't pay them. Don't pay them. They'll turn in the time card." Y'all had to have a meeting about this,
Well, they probably had 8 meetings about it.
I know. So, anyways, that's just, I think that I certainly couldn't do it now. Not that anything's wrong with it, but I don't know. I just know that nothing's guaranteed except, death and taxes, certainly death. So your money's not guaranteed. So it's just fun to have some control over it.
Yeah.
And I think it's exciting both ways. Sometimes you have real good months. Sometimes you have bad months, but you keep going. So,
yeah. So you must have had some nice wins in the beginning to kind of get your beak wet and get you excited about this.
Yeah.
But can you take us back to something that, besides the guy with his wet khakis?
Well, yeah, wet khakis.
What was that early win?
I have to think. One of the neatest ones was when I first started. I'd go give business cards out, and what I did, like little Snickers, 2 or 3 Snickers, 2 or 3 business cards, and I just go around. I'd introduce myself. That's all I'd say. And this lady came in and wanted a quote on a commercial building, and I said, "Well, how'd you hear about me?" She goes, "You came in the office some time ago and left Snickers and a business card." Ended up writing her business, car, life, everything. That, and then also seeing where, when I would door knock or I'd go see somebody and leave a brochure and they'd call back and I'd ask how they heard about me. That, and then, there's incentive trips that you can earned one of those. And there was an agent that found out that I wasn't hired in a certain place and said, "What happened? Why didn't we get this guy?" So that was some of those things. And then, of course, I had a lady one day text me, and she said she was, thank you for spending so much time with her, just listening and talking to her. And I forget that because we get to hurrying and doing. And so that side of it's pretty powerful. What we can do with a pen and insuring people. And most of us, certainly this group of guys and gals, are doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And so seeing somebody that's house is, and what really solidified it for me was in, I think it was 2014. You hear, we're going to do this, we're going to pay, we're awesome, blah, blah, blah. And then actually seeing the tornado that came through our area and watching what the company did. We showed up, we paid. There was no problems. Nobody complained that they didn't get paid. And so seeing that, believing and seeing, is what. Yeah. So that's the biggest thing, I think, that slowly over time solidified it for me, and all this other stuff is trying to get to that point. It's just it's gotten so hairy to get to the people now.
Yeah.
Yep. So Toby, you are a one-man shop right now.
Right now.
Tell me. Yeah. So has your team, have you grown it and talk about like the team over time?
Yeah. Well, at first when it was me and a office manager, secretary, whatever we want to call that. And that was that way for a while. And then the company I work with started throwing out little nuggets where you could get an affiliate, this, that, and the other. And so I had hired a couple people to call certain times, and I think I did that at a wrong time. So basically kind of what I'm doing with the Teledudes, but it was a different version. Did that, and then I hired a person to come in and sell, be a producer, and it just wasn't what he was wanting to do. And then COVID happened, and I was seeing the business change before then. A lot of online, a lot of texting, a lot of calling, not coming in, just the way the consuming public bought it. And so now I'm just me, and then plan to get some more producers or hire a producer at some point in time. So that's kind of how it's evolved. And we're our company's slow and steady growth. Think like barbecue, low and slow. And I don't know when they're going to figure it out, but there's a few agents that are figuring out that this is not going to work anymore. We're going to have to start doing some things a little different. What does that look like? I mean, I think there's next person I'm probably going to look at hiring is probably going to be what they call it, virtual sales type person. That person could be anywhere. So
yep,
that's kind of what I'm seeing. And I had an agent one time said, "You're all by yourself? How do you do it?" I said, "Hell, I'm good." He laughed, and I said, "But I'm just real who I try to write, get it all done, so on and so forth." So that's kind of where I've been. And then, had a couple kids, and youngest one is autistic. So that takes a little bit more time. So I've had to adjust on what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it. And so that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, the next thing I'd like to find some producers, but that's pretty much, I feel like Nick Saban here. That's pretty much, how we got to.
Yeah. We just let you go.
Well,
we like to let you go.
Well, yeah. So
you run out.
No, I think the one man. So we come across a lot of one man shops every once in a while, and it's like you always have such a great attitude and great outlook, especially in the Teledudes elite meetings. And you're a one man shop, and you truly do enjoy like talking to your clients, and you love what you do, and it's so cool. It's like it's a very cool perspective on it, and there's not a lot of people doing that these days. Like you said, things are changing and stuff, but now you got telemarketer, and you're doing things to make yourself more available. So It's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
I love it.
Just, there's some agents. I mean, you can do whatever you want to, of course, there's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, but you can, and I've done it. I've grown too fast, when I had an intern and I had a person calling, and I had an office manager and me, and it just didn't work, And so now I don't know what that's going to look like, but I think it's going to be to where we're going to do the Teledudes, because there's no other way that I've learned to how to get business besides calling people.
Right.
I mean, I've done it since 1998, with door knock and call. It's what we've always done. And even back in some of the literature and stuff that I've read back in the 50s, it was the same way. When somebody came in for a quote, there was a problem. You couldn't write them. So I've stopped all of my advertising, and I'm just solely focused on stirring up outbound stuff by the phone and so on and so forth. And
I love it.
And that's just what I've seen. And, why do I want to, people say, why are you buying leads, Toby? I mean, that's a lot of money. And I was like, well, do you have a billboard? Yes. How much you paying for that billboard a month? Oh, $300. Okay. For them to call you, at least I get the number.
$300
or whatever it is. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. And so,
it's pretty expensive.
But yeah. So that's to get their eyeballs on it. Instead, I'm like, I'd rather have a phone number and I can call them to try to. So that's just what I've seen. And I've tried all the different things and nothing else seems to work.
We talked to some indie agents that have some good automations rolling, and the version of contact rate that you get from just texts is pretty low. Like, you still, even with the great automated stuff that you can do on the independent side that we can't do as captives because, we got some handcuffs on. But besides that, like they're still having to get people on the phone. There's still a lot of waste if they're not. I know some agents that aren't, and they're wasting a lot of leads. It's like, let us call them then, because I guarantee you we're going to get a lot more people on the phone. And at the end of the day, even if you are texting back and forth, you still need to talk to them at some point. At some point, the conversation ends up on the phone.
Right.
So I don't think there's any way to get around that,
Right. Yeah. And nowadays it's like the importance of contacting people. Like if you're in person, it's really important. And if it's on the phone, it's really important. And it goes back to email and whatever else. So nowadays, in doubt, call them,
Yep.
They may not answer, but yeah, eventually it's going to have to come back to the phone call. I mean,
there's an 85% chance they won't answer today.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I've never understood it in a world where we're so connected. We can get in touch with everybody easier, but we're so disconnected. Don't call me, text me, that's fine. But I mean, this is insurance. We got to talk,
Yeah.
I mean, I've done some things that I've written policies over text now, cause I couldn't get them. And so I did it that way. But yeah, there's just a bunch of tools out there, and
there is,
you've got to figure out which ones you want to use and do it. But the human's still going to be involved.
Yeah.
It's funny too, because you see a lot of agents that are so heavy on the tools, right? They're all in on the automation, and they just poo-poo any of the old school sales methods. And then you have the old schoolers that just absolutely won't use any of the tools. They're just true to heart of the way it used to be. Mm-hmm. But man, it's like, dude, the combination of the both is the true magic. It's like going into, if you have both skills, where you're the old school sales, door knocking, telemarketing type of dude, and you mix that with all the cool tools that you have to really amplify your skills, there's no stopping you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing the teledudes, and then I've got in the community, I'm a member of the Realtors Board and the Mortgage Bankers, and then the Community Development Foundation our chamber has a thing where you can be affiliate ambassadors, where we can go to ribbon cuttings and such. So,
oh, cool.
I was thinking about mixing that stuff up, and it's like, this is what I need to do. This gets me out there amongst the people. A lot of times it's the same people, but out there, and then do the calling and, just let it rip. Now, the biggest thing, I'll tell y'all this story. I think I was sitting outside at my other house, had a cigar, had a good whiskey, and it hit me.
So you're relaxed.
I relaxed. Yeah, it hit me. And I started thinking about two things: claims, okay, and retention. Since I started, if somebody had a claim, I would make a note and call them a week later, be something like, Jason, just calling you, seeing the claims going. That was it, and I'd call my lapses, people that lapse, I'd call them, still do it today. And I went, oh my gosh, my retention has stayed where it is. It'd go up a little bit, it'd go down a little bit, but it'd stay right there. And then claims, I'd probably lost a couple of people over 20 years because of claims too. And it wasn't because, things happen, and I went, oh my gosh. But guess what? I've changed all the time. And since 98,
what?
Marketing, how to sell insurance,
right?
Whiskey too, right? But I would go this way, and I go this way, and I advertise over here. I call over here. I do this. I do that. So I never did it long enough to
bingo.
So I'm like, my gosh, and so I guess I'd get frustrated because it wasn't happening so fast. I want it now before it was cool,
Right. Yeah, well, that's our mentality, right? That's how we are as Americans or humans or business owners or whatever, is we want it yesterday, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And so I think that's, part of the whole function of the Teledudes Elite and the group and all of that is to help manage that part of it, right? Is help manage that piece, because we went through it, and we didn't have anybody else. Like we were out there figuring it out. And I mean, it was years of struggle. And then when I finally broke through, I mean, I almost can't quit.
Yeah. I remember, that's part of your, yeah. And Jason told you just to,
buy more, spend more, buddy. More. No big deal.
Right. That's right. That's right.
But it's funny, like when the shift happens, because I was terrified and I was watching every dollar. And once I let go of that fear, the fear was there.
Sure.
The fear still comes back, but being able to identify it and go, okay, that's just the fear, like all the what ifs, but I don't need to what if this thing to death. I have proof, right? I have proof over here. We did 300K in 1 month. We did 250. We did 270. Like we were doing it. And so it's like, I know it's there. I know we have the formula, right? And it's just, I just love that it's math, like there's no, and all those other things that I've done, because I've tried everything and I've done every different possible thing that there is. Like we never really dove into the math and we never did it long enough. And I think anything can work if you do it and you do it consistently, right? Just keep doing it. You go knock doors, you're not going to get results today. But if you do it every day, you're going to start closing people.
Right.
Is that the most effective use of your time? Probably not, right? Like,
no.
If I could just say, I know if we quote 10 people, we're going to close one. Okay, great. So how many leads do I have to buy to quote 10 people? Okay, great. How many dials do I need if I'm going to buy that many? It's like having all of the analytics and numbers makes it very simple, right? To just execute on a marketing plan and then watch it go.
And know it work. Yeah. And you would think that, there was times I would ask questions of the company and say, hey, how do we do this? How do we do that? They'd give you stuff and then not know how to get there,
Right.
And so that was it's like, McDonald's can tell you where you need, they've got, like, the franchise has some information. So there really wasn't anything to follow besides doing what you thought to do, And so, like, when I think I Googled, I don't know how I got on the podcast. It's the first thing I heard that. And then I don't remember, started looking and then started chit chatting. I think Greg or somebody about the cost and this and that. And they're, hesitating on, would this work? Is this not going to work? Are they going to answer the phone? Is this, all the crap that we, go through. Are they going to, I'm from Mississippi. I think I'm the only Mississippi person that I know of that buys leads. I think I'm the only one that does the Teledude. So are they going to answer the phone? All this stuff. And I just, decided one day, I said, well, let me just do it and see what happens. And I started May 16th and I told myself, I'm not going to look at this hard at all until a year. So May 16th of next year. Now, some of your Lanny and some of the guys are going to look at some numbers, just kind of see where, if I'm kind of doing what I'm supposed to do and blah, 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 and just to check in. Yeah. And I'm just going to see what it looks like then, and I can see what I've quoted, and because Shelter keeps up with that. Then they have you quoted so many. And so you want to be like 30%, 1 out of 3 is what we are. So every 3 people we quote, we typically write 1. You don't want to get too high or too low. If you're too high, you're not quoting enough. You're too low. And then I looked one day and said, okay, how many calls does it take to get the quote? And then when I saw your thing that you did, that funnel, I still got a picture of it. I went, there it is.
There it is.
Because the quote, the numbers that you had, like the percentage and whatever, it was really close. And that's
pretty
all.
Close.
Yeah. And sometimes on and sometimes on the Teledude calls, sometimes, some of them want to go too deep, and that's fine, but for me, I know that the longer I look at the numbers, that's 2 or 3 people I could have called or whatever. But
right.
For me, that was my problem. I'd analyze too much. And then greatest thing my wife taught me, I said, I want to find out X, Y, Z. She goes, okay, what are you going to do with that information? I was like, I don't know. Well, if you don't know what you're going to do with it, why the hell are you going to get it? Right. I was like, duh to me, so just stuff like that just makes you wonder. And sometimes you just want to know, but you don't need to know,
Right.
So
yeah,
it's just interesting. And a lot of people tell me that I have the skill set to not figure people out, but communicate with them and get them comfortable to talk to you. And because that's what you got to do eventually. It's like, hey, look, this, you ain't got to buy this stuff. I just like to talk to you about you know, he has a chance.
I think that's one of the keys, I think, to when I see when I see our team get on that, and I think most salespeople do it. They go on the sales roller coaster, I call it.
Yeah. Right.
And when they're high, and they sound great, and they're not worried about sales. Because they're not worried about sales, they're talking to people and they're excited. So they're talking about all kinds of stuff, and then they go on those downswings on the roller coaster and they don't sound as fun. And then they get worried about their sales. So they're going to get out. If you don't want to buy, I'm going to go to the next call.
Right.
And it's like, so they're taking out the chit chat. They're cutting corners on the quote.
Right.
And they're wondering, oh, these leads suck. Yeah. It's like, dude, you're not the same dude a week ago on the phone. You were excited. You talked to that dude for 30 minutes and he told you no. And then finally, after the 40-minute mark, he said yes. At 35 minutes, he was not going to buy from you. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what you see. And then it's like, but they don't see it, Right. But it's 100% what you're saying. You don't think about your wants. Like if you're thinking about, I just want to sell it. You're not going to sell it.
No, I don't know how they know it, but they do. I mean, what somebody calls it commission breath. Yeah. They do. I mean, they
sales
do.
stank,
sales stank, whatever it is. Yeah. So it's
Vegas knows about it too. Like if you get desperate at the end and you go, you know what, screw it, I'm putting it all in. What happened?
Yeah, exactly.
Dealer gets a blackjack. Bye. Get out of here.
Yeah, get out of here.
It's like every time the same thing.
Yeah. And I think that's I think you actually you kind of have to get your mind right, like playing a football game or something.
100%.
Hey, what are you still doing here?
Well, while you're still here and while it's fresh in your mind, check out live.teledudes.com.
Yeah, if you weren't listening before, we took notes from over 100 interviews with top agents from around the country and made it into a live webcast.
Using these strategies did help Craig and I write over $10 million in premium in the last couple years.
And let me tell you, on this call, you'll receive the exact blueprint to get the very same results.
Again, that's live.teledudes.com to register for this upcoming Tuesday's live call with us.
And if you jump on with us, we are certain 2022 will be an absolutely fantastic year for you.
See you there.